Possibly best known for nearly destroying David Lean's reputation, Ryan's Daughter today can be viewed with greater perspective. Coming after Bridge on the River Kwai, Lawrence of Arabia, and Dr. Zhivago, the initially disastrous reviews may have demonstrated Andrew Sarris's observation made in another context, that critics often unconsciously trim their opinions of filmmakers after too much success. That the reasons for Daughter's failure may have been unfair, however, does not mean it should now be uncritically championed. Sarah Miles stars as the unhappily married Rosie Shaughnessy, née Ryan. She finds sexual satisfaction with a British officer, Christopher Jones, stationed in her Irish village during the First World War. Complications ensue, which could easily work as the basis for a finely textured romantic melodrama. But the film is simply too big for its limited situation. Several good actors distinguish themselves, particularly Robert Mitchum as Rosie's husband Charles. There is little to criticize technically, aside from Maurice Jarre's overbearing score. Even the well over 3-hour running time is handled with such smooth assurance that you rarely experience longeuse. It is just that the scale wants to rival War and Peace. The slightest actions are inflated by grandiloquence. In one scene, for example, we see Rosie walking on the beach, leaving behind footprints that are washed away by waves rolling in from the side. Photographed from a huge distance and high angle, the brief shot seems like a simple, even poetic moment, until you consider how much work was probably necessary to achieve that so-called simplicity. How did the camera reach its perch? How long did they wait for the waves to come in just enough to wash away the footprints without enveloping Miles? How many takes were necessary to get things just right? Events throughout similarly strain for effect. There are some truly big moments that warrant the elaborate production, most obviously the rescue of smuggled weapons from a howling storm. The lashing waves, rain, and winds are frighteningly believable, but almost gratuitous, since the subplot of Republican foment that underpins the sequence is not central to the romance. Indeed, the principals are not even involved. The storm is just the most elaborate of several scenes that seem calculated to show off the resources. The crowds of raucous villagers are particularly gratuitous, since we never see them fishing or farming or anything else. They're too busy being all too realistically petty and nasty to do any work, much less contribute to the action. Of course, Daughter is hardly the only bloated Hollywood production to equate scale with quality, so why the disastrous reception? Part of the hostility may have been residual resentment at the attempt to repeat the success of Dr. Zhivago's questionable romantic formula. Removed from that context, maybe Ryan's Daughter can now stand or fall on its merits. The filmmaking still seems too fastidious by half, but it's tough to get upset over perfectionism, no matter how misplaced.